What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
In reality, her assessments at this juncture were both accurate and flawed. The magicule concentration in this world was low, preventing the existence of particularly potent monsters. Menaces of Shinbutsu class were often creatures traversing from other worlds, and even they succumbed to overwhelming forces. Cooperation between swordsmen and casters had significantly reduced their numbers. Thus, monsters of such caliber struggled to thrive long enough to accumulate magicules. The environment wasn't conducive to the natural emergence of powerful monsters. At this stage, unlike Velgrynd could sustain a consistent magicule cycle entirely within her own body. She had no requirement to restore them from the atmosphere, and they were never expelled from her body. This skill was acquired during her extensive journeys through diverse worlds. Consequently, she paid little attention to the magicule concentration in this world, as she hadn't detected that fact yet. Typically, retracing one's steps when traversing worlds was deemed impossible. Even with a convenient underworld gate, the portal's size remained a limitation. Velgrynd, capable of using her spacetime leap skill without constraints, stood out as a clear exception to natural laws. Hence, in comparison to the magicule-abundant environment of Velgrynd's origin, the criteria for strength in this world were relatively modest. She didn't have to wait long to observe this firsthand. After conferring with the Emperor and his guard, Velgrynd obtained a broad understanding of the situation. The Empire of Japan's conquest faced an inevitable downfall, soon to be in the hands of its invaders. While global leaders acknowledged this truth, they found themselves powerless to halt the populace and the military's unrestrained actions.
So, what is the current strategy of the adversary?
The unified enemy fleet, having just obliterated the Imperial Navy to which Kandu belonged, remained an enigma, their movements concealed. Some of the Empire's ships were expected to survive, yet all communication had been entirely severed.
Ordinarily, our fleet would have surrendered upon recognizing their defeat. News of that should have reached the homeland by now, but there's silence.
From my perspective, it's possible they fell under Yoma control. Our adversary doesn't adhere to human laws, so they might have rejected our surrender.
I'm pondering Kandu's choice of words. He spoke of a takeover of their bodies, suggesting this Yoma can internally possess people. In that case, survivors are unlikely.
Despite assigning personnel to gather intelligence, there was minimal contact from them. If every sailor had succumbed to Yoma possession, it would provide a plausible explanation for the current situation.
They're stranded in the vast expanse of the Great South Sea, cornered, with no way out. We've sought assistance from other nations, but there's been no response. Considering they have no motive to deceive us, it strongly suggests that our military strength has been stripped away.
Though only a potential scenario, if accurate, it would be catastrophic. The most skilled human swordsmen had failed against the enemy's leader, and their elite, well-disciplined military might have been mere pawns for the Yoma. Any expectation of future military retaliation was unrealistic, and sending additional troops would likely be futile. Consequently, Tensei and his associates resolved to concentrate on safeguarding the imperial capital.
It would merely serve as a temporary delay. You grasp that, don't you?
Indeed, our current options are limited. We've dispatched capable individuals to decipher the enemy's strategies. Once completed, we'll assemble the most formidable force possible from around the world to confront and defeat the enemy leaders.
I'm skeptical about the plan's success, but we have no alternative. If only we had Kandu. He could have triumphed over a lone enemy. Now we face two, both ranking as Kiryu or higher, and he couldn't even escape. If we bring together myself, my master Araki, and Amari, along with the great heroes from other nations, perhaps we can overcome the Yoma leaders.
Amari Masahiko, a fellow student swordsman who vied with Kandu for the top title, was proficient in spellcasting and intelligence. Currently engaged in a covert mission, Amari was not the sole hidden talent from the land of the rising sun. Emperor Akira Sakura, without explicitly mentioning it, had multiple imperial guardians from other nations, individuals ranking Kiryu or higher, operating both publicly and clandestinely. Figures like Pulcinella the Mad Priest and Xianhua, the Holy Fist, renowned for their prowess, were vital forces. Overcoming this global crisis required these heroes to unite. Failure would result in the downfall of all. Akira Sakura acknowledged the fantastical nature of the entire plan, and that wasn't the only challenge they faced.
The concern is whether we're dealing with just two enemy leaders. Unpleasant as it sounds,
Having more of them would be a setback for us.
Velgrynd remarked.
Exactly.
Tensei responded with a touch of bitterness. To overcome a Kiryu-level monster, he'd prefer to have at least twice as many fighters of equal or higher rank. However, lacking an accurate assessment of the enemy's size made it impossible to gather heroes worldwide. Safeguarding the Empire's key figures took precedence for Japan, adding to the pile of issues they needed to address. In an ideal scenario, they could lure out these Kiryu-class Yoma one by one. Failing that, they'd have to engage in battles they could realistically win. If the enemy outnumbered them, defeat was inevitable. Then, a change unfolded. Observing Tensei and the others grappling with the situation, Velgrynd extended an irresistible offer.
It seems like you have quite a few challenges. All right, I'll lend a hand. First, I'd like you to demonstrate your powers.
Huh, what's this about? It's so sudden.
Well, we can't devise a strategy without understanding our enemy, can we? I want to gauge how strong these Yoma are.
What are you suggesting?
It's simple. Your name is Tensei, right? If you were Kondo's teacher, you must be at least as skilled as he was, I assume? I just arrived in this world, so I'm not familiar with the local standards of strength. Let's start with you, all right?
Ah, I see now. Yes, I surpass Kondo in terms of ability. I have special moves kept private, along with potent finishers handed down from my style's originator and his pupils. However, I'll admit that Kondo possessed unwavering strength in his convictions. His spirit was remarkable, and his determination to win exceeded the norm. If I'd engaged in a serious bout with him, luck would have played a significant role in the outcome.
In essence, they were evenly matched. The nuanced differences in power were inconsequential to Velgrynd. She merely sought a benchmark and decided to test Tensei immediately. They relocated to a practice ground. Tensei asked Minamoto to leave as he couldn't reveal his most potent moves to his student. The Emperor was the sole outsider present. Velgrynd observed Tensei, who held his cherished blade while she remained unarmed. Concern crept into Tensei as he noted Velgrynd's silk robe, unsuitable for battle and offering no protection. Although Tensei didn't anticipate defeating Velgrynd, he wondered if his potent moves could potentially cause her harm.
I have a question,
he declared, firming his resolve.
I apologize if this comes off as impolite, but do you want me to use a real sword? Because the most advanced techniques of my style might pose a threat to you.
Recognizing his concern for her well-being, Velgrynd could have ignored the question, but she chose to ease his mind. She thought it would encourage him to showcase his full strength without hesitation.
How thoughtful of you. But no need to worry. Your weapon, you called it an uchigatana, right? It seems like a high-quality antique, but unfortunately, it won't affect me. So, feel free to come at me with everything you've got.
Contrary to appearances, Tensei's blade was ordinary, not even worthy of a unique appraisal. In a world starved of magicules, swords couldn't evolve over time. Without delay, Tensei accepted the invitation. Concentrating all his explosive fighting energy, he unleashed the mightiest skill of the Oboro Shinmei Ryu, multi-layered blossom flash. However, it yielded no blossoms. Velgrynd effortlessly halted the exquisitely honed move with a single fingertip. The blade danced through the air, appearing as if it might split into multiple weapons. Its speed surpassed ordinary perception, yet it proved too slow for Velgrynd.
If that's the extent of your abilities, I've witnessed plenty.
Simply attributing it to a disparity in power felt inadequate. It was akin to comparing realms like heaven and earth, or perhaps something even beyond, and the glaring disparity between them was now unmistakable. Although it was a profound letdown for Tensei, it provided Velgrynd with the information she sought. Tensei's Hakusen was a clandestine technique, exclusively transmitted through the primary lineage of his sword style. It had never been imparted to Kondo. Undoubtedly, it stood at the pinnacle of this world in terms of formidable force. In its potency, Hakusen enabled its wielder to surpass Kiryu, reaching the echelon of Shinbutsu rank.
So, you're truly godlike.
Well, my brother created my world, but no, I am not.
Oh, in our perspective, that could easily be termed a god, you know.
Yes, the concept of God can be interpreted diversely, depending on the era and location. You can perceive me however you wish, but I must remind you that there exist forces capable of even overpowering me.
Velgrynd reminisced about that carefree slime. While losing to him still irked her, she no longer harbored certainty that a rematch would fare any better.
But labeling Rimuru as a god is also not accurate. Perhaps the more appropriate stance is to acknowledge the non-existence of such entities.
Velgrynd allotted only brief contemplation to the matter. It seemed unlikely that further deliberation would yield an answer anytime soon. The present concern was the Yoma, their adversary in this world.
Thank you for challenging me. It served as a painful reminder of my immaturity and insignificance. I must leverage this experience to enhance myself further.
Velgrynd paid scant attention to this. A hypothesis was rapidly taking shape in her mind. Tensei and Kondu were essentially evenly matched in strength, but that strength lagged significantly compared to Kondu's state when she had encountered him. When humans traversed between worlds in physical space, most succumbed to the intense concentration of magicules. Occasionally, however, the magicules could disassemble and reconstruct their bodies, rendering these humans hardier and more resilient.
Right. I overlooked that. The magicule concentrations in this world are feeble. Casting spells must be challenging, and magical body augmentation likely hasn't progressed much. If that strength was solely derived from his natural prowess, he genuinely deserves commendation for generating that much force.
Recalling the impact on her fingertip, she pondered. Back in her native world, it would have been hailed as an accomplishment of A rank, an impressive feat considering his weapon barely reached rare level. Now, she could envision the strength of their adversary. I'd place the Tenyo class somewhere between B and A-, I suppose. Does one have to ascend to Kiryu before entering the Overit territory? Maybe? If that's the case, my assumption about the Yoma being phantoms is likely correct. Phantoms referred to demi-spiritual aggressor species. In the physical realm, they could only function for brief periods without being incarnated in physical bodies. In a world with minimal magicules like this one, possessing someone else's body was a necessity, using too much energy otherwise. Yet, in possession of such a body, unleashing their latent power fully would be impossible, not without tearing the human's body apart.
It must severely weaken them. Magicule-based protection is non-existent in this world, so exerting a ton of power at once would lead to bodily destruction. Maybe they don't care if they're just trying to kill their enemies. Perhaps they're restraining themselves because their goal is invasion? That's likely why the Kondu of this space-time period was a formidable opponent for them.
If the phantoms aimed to unleash their full force, no one on this planet could ever defeat them. Coming to this realization, Velgrynd smiled, relishing the fact that someone like her was present. Even against Feldway, the Lord of the Phantoms, she was confident she'd find a way to win, and there was little chance Feldway himself was involved in this invasion. Indeed, Velgrynd's prediction was accurate.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Chad Vota, Chris Guzman, Jason Martin, John M., John Charles, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Dragon Spawn 666, J Rule, Leiron Sangkap, Lucas Guet, Ekotski. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.